Good morning, and what is a cool, bright, and sunny day. It is Wednesday, the 26th of July. I've got a nice hot cup of tea and a box to continue unboxing. And what I've got under here is a copy of what I'm hoping is that the Last Cyclade, which is part 2 of Mercenary of the Icons, the campaign for Coriolis, which is the setting published by Free League Publishing, which is essentially 1001 Arabian Nights inspired science fiction in the very far future, set in a region of space called the Third Horizon, a lost area of space which has a series of number of worlds, and Coriolis, essentially an enormous space station, which has lost contact with the previous waves of colonization from Earth. And this is essentially the campaign, which sort of like kind of caps the setting, as it were, and explores its secrets and details that that's sort of like been hinted at in the core rule book, because it is a setting full of secrets, and there is definitely sort of like something going on with the Icons attempting to contact the peoples of the Third Horizon and influence it, and then various factions attempting to stop that. As to the nature of the Icons and who they are, that's another big secret that is revealed as part of the ongoing campaign. So, ash falls like snow over the mourners lining the shores of Darbari, while smoke from the funeral pyres rises above Daraban's blood-red sun. Far above in the darkness of space, a lone ship awaits to enter the portal to Uharu. Its crew stands ready to complete the mission. The ghost ship Severa has been found, and those who reach her first will most likely unveil the truth behind one of the Horizon's most ominous mysteries. Many months ago, the destroyer Severa vanished during the same event that sent the cruise liner Ghazali crashing into the Hamara star. Now she is back, in a time when both the aftermath of the mysticides and the death of the emissary has shaken the Horizon to its foundation. The Coriolis Council and Zenithian authority are questioned, and more people revolt against their oppressors. The throat of the third Horizon is exposed, and this is when something ancient rises from the shadows. The Last Cyclade is the second part of Mercies of the Icons, the epic and richly illustrated campaign for Coriolis, the Third Horizon. This book contains extensive background information from the Game Master describing the events which threaten the Third Horizon and its inhabitants, the Huron Echo, an adventure set in the darkness of space, a quest to solve a grand and terrifying mystery, mission-generated tables that let you tailor your campaign and create your own adventures, dealing with the hunt for a foe whose power is rising, the Children of Future, Forked Tongues, Curse of Rusasa, and 5 of the Icons' 4 adventure landscapes that expose the player characters to these troublesome times. In the Shadow of the Zenith, a race against time where the characters return to Coriolis and find themselves at the heart of the Horizon's escalating conflict. So, this requires essentially the nothing more than the core rulebook, but you do need, ideally you should have played through Emissary Lost, the first part of the campaign. So we open up and we've got a star map of the Third Horizon and its worlds. And then we've got a table of contents. And the interesting thing is this this differs from the usual format for Free League books, where you've got the little art, pieces of artwork, the sort of like the chapter prefaces at the top with the list underneath, but you do have sort of like those pieces of artwork back there. So it's quite an open kind of style. And of course, the other thing about it is that this book is all against the blackness of space. It's all a part of the background. And we can actually start off with the background to the campaign, or this part of the campaign anyway. And the first part of the campaign saw the player characters sort of like investigating a series of abductions and deaths of mystics. And the mystics in the setting is sort of like have, with the appearance of the emissaries from the Icons, they are beginning to develop strange new powers like telekinesis and telepathy and similar things. So essentially sort of psionics. But this has aroused the interest of various parties, some of whom want them stopped. So got the background, and this continues through. So essentially, setting this part of the campaign up. And then we have images of those icons, and one of the aspects of the game is that, like, you can pray to the icon you hold dear to gain bonuses in game, and so your faith is important throughout play. So I've got an overview of the factions involved, tips for the game master running the campaign before we get into the Uhura and Echo. And then we have, you can see the characters, the player characters sort of like stepping out into the void, into space for extravehicular activity. And this starts off with sort of like the issue sort of like of space travel, because in Coriolis it's done via spaceships, but long-range travel is done via portals. And one of the aspects of the setting is that the portals between the third horizon, the second horizon, and so on and so on, and back to Earth have been cut off for reasons unknown. So hopefully, I mean, the other thing about this part of the campaign is it will get the characters back aboard their spaceship, because the first part was all really kind of either on the station or you know, on the planet below, so it really didn't involve a lot of spaceships use. So anyway, I've got possible events from failed portal use before we get into a description, sort of like the Uhura system, complete with essentially the order of its planets. And he'll be on the Martyr's Veil. Some of the NPCs involved in this part of the campaign. Explanation of the situation. So essentially, you discover secrets sort of you've got hidden there. The artwork in here is excellent. I mean, that's a feature of anything from Free League Publishing, and the artwork is always good. Sense of scope and scale and grandeur, and mystery. And this, if anything, this sort of feels, you know, almost like a mechanical science fiction version of the artwork style. I mean, it's the same artist, but essentially of the role-playing game Symbaroum, which is the dark fantasy setting, also published by Free League. And throughout, there's a sort of general sense of mystery and wonder about the whole setting, and this is what this campaign is exploring. So obviously, you know, this concerns for the fate of Zephyra, the destroyer vessel, and here we have actual deck plans for it. So the player characters will definitely get into a spaceship and aboard another. And we've got a table of events whilst they're aboard the wreck of the Zephyra. We've got essentially sort of like table of sort of like a handout, and then doing more exploration, more extravehicular attack activity, and then we have an overview of the butterfly ship interior. This is the one that's essentially that has been kind of lingering in the background of the campaign, you know, manipulating events, hiding secrets. Trying to change the future of the Third Horizon, not always for its benefit. And then we get to the heart of the butterfly, discover its emerald disc, and then more of its secrets revealed. And this ends Act 2. Then we get to the hospital. And here, essentially, this I suppose hospital is sort of like the kind of recovery section where, you know, you begin to explore the fallout of what the player characters have discovered, and its ramifications begin to play out. So you've got things like a table of extended rules for void scars, for suffering, for being caught in the void. And we return to the dance in the Sky City. Like I said, that, you know, this is, you are now sort of like player characters are dealing with the movers and shakers of the Third Horizon, as they sort of like react to the discoveries that the player characters have made. Basically, you've got fairly solid sections of text here, and that ends Act 3. Things are beginning to move as your spaceship's operation before we get onto the Cyclade dance. And this is the second part of the Cyclade, as the player head out into the Third Horizon to fight the resurrecting Nazarene sacrifice. Back to the patron, they track down and put out the embers that threaten to drown the horizon in fire. So the player characters essentially they've made discoveries. This has alerted this sort of like the movers and shakers, and so they have decided to act, and they will act via the player characters. So the discussion of the patron and what they want. We've got new patrons as well. The discussion of the emissary. Mission events and events that can occur as part of this second part, which appears to be sort of a bit more open, a bit more, allowing a bit more open, involvement in terms of development upon the part of the game master. I'm just flipping through that. And then we've got actual sort of, so the game master's got scope here to develop content here as the player characters work for the patron, and this is backed up with mini adventures. So we've got the Children of the Future, Temples of the Lotus, Temple City of the Lotus, which includes a map of the city, and Forked Tongues, and even got a table of poisons in the Third Horizon. So this is going to be this scenario. Forked Tongues is all going to be about duplicity, and snakes in the grass, as it were, and snakes are, of course, always poisonous. Then we go to the City of Foreigners, and we've got a map of that city. So you're doing quite a wide-ranging sort of like tour of the Third Horizon, and some of its interesting locations. And the major characters who might be encountered there. And the table of tables of factional intrigue, and description of Mashio's station, along with a cross section, because you never do quite do a deck plans of something as large as a space station, certainly unless it's a small one. Fires the icons, which is another scenario. Which, more of the sunken temple map. So multiple scenarios, you've got sort of like one main scenario in the book, Valley of Death, location. So you've got one main scenario in the book, and then really at this point it's the campaign kind of opens up so that there's a bit more flexibility. The player characters sort of going hither and thither. Exploring other aspects of the ongoing campaign and its wider effects across the Third Horizon in smaller locales, and then we have in the shadow of the Zenith, and then this is the third and final scenario. This book takes the PCs back to Coriolis, the space station. After a dramatic series of segments, the Council of Factions preparing for the unprecedented snap election. Promising broken strikes and riots haunt the horizon. Zenithians and the Order of the Pariah appear beyond the brink of war. The Pilgrimia is drawing near, and the faithful flock to Coriolis to seek the Icon's guidance for the unknown path ahead. So here you've got another image of essentially the Coriolis, essentially the last spaceship that crossed over into Third Horizon from the previous sort of wave from colonization, and then was reconstructed as a station rather than a colony ship. Here we have the major NPCs. Changes to the council as a result of the elections. Player characters returning. They're arriving at the station. Conflicts of interest that arise, caravan incidences, and then we've got sort of like an overview. Sort of like we've got some cross sections of the Coriolis station, so the ring and its core there. Detailed enough, certainly, to get a sense of space and relationship between the locations. Knowing individual locations aboard the Coriolis. And we've got so various events whilst the player characters are hiding out in the safe houses, table of NPCs. Mystic encounters, calm before the storm, and then other events, discontent that can arise during this segment and this act of the third adventure in the scenario. Then we have the Defector, next act, and then major location for one of the NPCs, their residence. That's quite a wealthy residence. Breaking news, events are continuing. And then violence breaks out. You can see there's an attack or a bomb or something similar. Everyone runs for cover. So we've got tables for scenes of conflict, clashing groups, conflict magnitude that can be rolled for, and throughout the act as Act 2 comes to an end. Before we come on to the new horizon, echoes of anger and desperation are drowned out by rattling Vulcan fire and the roaring engines of attack craft. The core plaza has become a war zone where riot fences and barricades keep the rioters from reaching the guard point. Emergency response drones are putting out fires in trashed residential modules and looted stores as battle-trained Nakatra tear at the arms and legs of fleeing protesters to bring them to the ground. Martial law, blaring alarms, despair, mayhem. The peoples of the Third Horizon brutally subjugated under the boots of the Judicator. So this is thoroughly, disrupting society, threatening it as with, the uncertainty of the changes brought about by the changes of influence upon the council and the influence of the icons and quite what's happening. And then essentially we go back planet side to the base of the monolith, and here this returns sort of like to one of the sites of in Emissary Lost, where the player characters visit the city, see the monolith, but don't go anywhere near it. Now they have a chance to go planet side and explore the monolith and discover its secrets, which will bring Act 3 to an end and set everything up for the third and final part of the Coriolis campaign. So we have, lastly, the epilogue and discussion of the aftermath of the second part of the campaign, in readiness for the third and final part. So that is the Last Cyclade, Mercy of the Icons Part 2 for Coriolis, which I look forward to giving a detailed review at some point. If you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook way, you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing Nook. We'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.